We got ourselves a new patch. Hope everybody's ready to check out these notes. Particularly, I know over the past maybe 17 patches, Soul Bad Guy has gotten a few nerfs. So I'm excited to see what kind of buffs he got in this patch, you know? Despite the incredible play from a few people that have made him really stand out in high-level events, I can't wait to see his changes. Surely he got such good changes. I cannot... Just kidding. So let's get into it. Obviously, crossplay is coming with this version of the game, but there's also changes to the online tower and online interface, and they added blocking and reporting and all kinds of other stuff. Cross-platform features, as mentioned in the text, refers to online play between PlayStation, consoles, and Steam. Yeah, we got some crossplay. This option is on by default. Also, ping is available. This is another thing that they added, which is pretty cool. Added a function to report other players from their player R code. This is great. Added a mute function, which hides the player name and any text sent by a specific player from your screen. They do not know they've been muted. In-game block for blocking specific players. In addition to making matches with the blocked player impossible, it also places restrictions on that player name and text sent from them, as well as the mute function. You only mute somebody if they're being annoying in the lobby and you don't want to read the shit they have to say. You block someone if you're like, no, I'm not playing this dude. Might be the first time some people ever block. For the rank tower, to make it easier to match with players of the same skill level, the rule preventing players from falling below a certain floor even after repeated losses based on certain input techniques and floors previously has been eased. Before, sometimes you'd be hard capped above a certain floor and you couldn't go down. Floor, I don't know, 7 or 8 is where most of the players are, even if they should be down lower on like 6, 5, 4, 3, etc. right? So they're trying to like spread people out a bit. You're probably going to be like on floor 9 usually, and then now you're playing on floor 8 or 7 after the update. I don't think that's unlikely. Add the option to skip the rating update sequence. It still happens, but you don't have to see the rating update, and then it just like sends you somewhere. Players can now continue to rematch up to 3 matches, even if the assigned floor changes during a set. You can now select the room you'd like to enter from the floor select screen. The floors have instances, right? So let's say you're on the West Coast and you try to go to floor 10. There's not just one floor 10. There's like lots of floor 10s. And sometimes you don't want to be in the one you're in because like maybe you've played most of the people there, or like there's not enough people. Right now you like leave and then you join and you're like, am I on the right one? Nope. Leave and then you join. You're like, am I on the right one? Nope. And this allows you to, have a bit more control. Battle related, some more bug fixes that are really important. This one is fixed a bug where the processing load would increase when a counter hit occurred on high screen resolution settings in the Steam version. Is it time? Can we all play on 2K and 4K now and not worry about having the frame drops? My first instinct is don't just crank this up and then go online, please. Please make sure your frame rate is okay. Now I'll say, one thing about this patch in particular, the universal system mechanic changes are extremely large. So even if what character looks like on paper, just their balance changes are like buffs or nerfs or a little bit of both, you have to consider how the universal changes affect them and affect the kinds of characters they win against or lose against or their strategy. This is a pretty important aspect of it, and the universal changes are probably the biggest changes in this patch. The other thing is, don't just consider your character's changes in a vacuum. I say this every time I read every patch. If all your character's bad matchups get nerfed, they're probably better in the patch. Consider the entire patch and all the changes, as well as the universal changes, because otherwise,
you're a Sajam fan now?
You're going to be looking at it in a very narrow lens. Changes to game mechanics. These changes address the issues of the difficulty for the defender to launch a counteroffensive due to the attacker remaining at an advantage for an extended time. Now, this is whether the character is just plus and they have meter to do stuff, or whether your character is just like, trying to play safe on defense and they're just staggering on you, or they have like positive bonus. Tension gauge now increases more the higher your character's risk level. This is really big because previously, if you had blocked a lot and your risk gauge is going up and up and up and up, oftentimes you would FD and then just like start running out of meter and just not have any left. The comeback mechanic here is blocking, particularly because of the other tension changes, which we're going to get to, which is tension gauge gain rate for the attacker no longer increases when the opponent blocks attacks while their risk level is at max. There are some scenarios where you can just like loop nasty shit with positive bonus, or like, characters like Jacko, I think is a good example, right? This helps that kind of balance out a bit along with some of the other stuff. The rate of risk level depletion over time is now faster. It's much faster. I cannot believe how much faster it is compared to before. This is a side-by-side comparison, but as you can see, by the time this is like halfway done, this has just barely reached the red. This shit is really big. You can also see Soul's meter before. he is gaining chonks a bar, right? And he makes it there like way earlier. In fact, he builds basically a whole other half a bar with the high risk here. Also, look at the difference in Kai's meter down here. It's like a really big deal how much more meter you get, especially because you only need a sliver to FD, right? And so the chances of you actually having extra bar to get out of a scenario like this are pretty big. Risk level now resets when Psych Burst is activated. This is like absurd. I'm assuming, right, this reads like it works even if it's on block. This is like a humongous boost to defense. Defense got even stronger, I think, in this patch in a lot of ways. Some changes affecting all characters. As a general rule, these changes improve balance for areas where some characters notably excelled over others. Hurt boxes of 6p. The height of the hurt box as the attack comes out is now the same for all characters. I wonder what character 6p it is. Certain ones had problems hitting some things that like most characters could 6p. Making the height of the hurt box as the attack comes out the same means there's less of a difference in what strings each character can deal with. Yeah, I think people just assume this is like a nerf to 6p, but it probably depends on your character and like what the change actually is. I think most of the strong 6ps will not change. I think it's trying to just make the other ones feel a little bit more in step with the rest of them. Special moves with retreating movement. This is a universal change that they got. These moves now cause the tension balance to deplete, similar to backdashes. So really important, because I think there's a few of these that might actually get people in negative penalty if done a lot, which is, I think, humongous for meter gain, given the other changes we see for meter in the game. Base damage scaling has been added to attacks that did not have it previously, with the exception of certain moves. Some moves, such as close standing S, still do not have base damage scaling, meaning they can lead into major damage just as before. I'm not sure exactly what this means, because I think lights already have scaling though. Don't they already have 90% proration, or am I misremembering? It just says certain moves. So it could be special moves, who knows? These are all really, really high buffs. And if damage scaling changes are actually meaningful, it will mean your characters live longer and build more meter on defense, and that will affect almost every round. Wait, fix a bug where the tension gauge would not deplete correctly when a Roman cancel activated simultaneously with a super flash of certain moves? I don't think super PRC is gone though, no. Super PRC is before the super flash. This sounds like something completely different. Proximity requirement is a really interesting thing. When a proximity requirement is added to an attack, that means it no longer connects unless it's within a defined range of the opponent character's position. I don't know what else this matters with besides Eno's note. A strategy against it was to swing into it so that it would only hit you like one time. Now it doesn't do this unless Eno is also near the note. So you need to be in like a certain range of the character for your hurt boxes to like interact with it, it seems like. This has like really changed, I think, how her note is, probably a lot. These changes are really good. I think a lot of it is buffs to defensive play where certain characters can kind of overwhelm you. I think it matches sort of the power level of a lot of the positive bonus stuff that got added to the other patch, and you probably survive a few more interactions. So not like you're gonna not get exploded in this game. It's a little harder for that to be the case. I also love the changes to certain moves, lowering your tension balance. I think so many characters' meter on offense is gonna be much worse if they're just doing this kind of shit. Like, I think Nago is a great example. Soul Bad Guy, I mean, obviously he's been nerfed every single patch, so he must be getting some sick buffs this patch. Their balance and tensions. They extended the range of standing H. Nice, this is great. /5H used to always hit, and then they nerfed /pushback, and then that made it so that /5H whiffed a lot at farther range. You could FD away /, and then 5H, it was harder to frame trap like 2Ks or 6Ps, even though the timing was correct. So that's pretty cool. While it is now more challenging for him to get huge rewards from mid-range, wait a minute, the changes to Gunflame make him better at poking from mid-range. 6S, decreased attack level, no longer launches the opponent on grounded counter hit. Now, I saw some people saying like, well, he doesn't get that much from 6S on counter hit anyway. That person is on drugs and doesn't play the game. 6S is like his best starter in the middle of the screen. So much damage off 6S, you literally explode. The reason I think most people don't care that much is that his 6S has been nerfed a lot since the game came out. It's pretty weak to low profile and 6Ps. This is his most important counter hit move in neutral. No longer launching on grounded counter hit means he can no longer do 6S counter hit with Bandit Revolver into 5K into like jump S, jump D, and get, 200 damage and wall break from the middle of the screen. Now, instead, his combo on counter hit is probably 6S Bandit Revolver 1, 5K 2D, which is like 110 or something maybe, right? There's an important change that might make this slightly better than it appears, which is Gunflame. So it's a little faster and it has less active frames. It doesn't last as long. Increased movement speed of the projectile. Maybe on 6S counter hit now, he gets Gunflame. And there's a potential that he gets to do 6S counter hit into Gunflame, into like Vortex, into close slash DP or 2K DP. We'll see if that's like that. Soul is so threatening at close range that I think it's fine to reduce his mid-range tools. Here's the thing. They have nerfed his close range in like every patch, including this one. His close range has been nerfed by all the FD changes and the far slash changes, and changes to him and changes to damage. Soul is not a bad character. He's fine. But I am shocked that he got these changes given that lots of characters that were better than him got buffs. So that's why I'm surprised. The 6S change though is confusing. It could be that 6S Gunflame is like pretty good. I don't imagine there's any way it's better than it is now, but I think Soul ends up probably slightly worse for the patch than what he was before. The buffs to defense are definitely not good for him. I think they're much better for many other characters than they are for him. He's pretty good at building risk. And like, it really depends on what this Gunflame changes. Kai got some weird changes. They showed off one of them on Twitter. I don't really know why they did this, but there's a guard crush on Sacred Edge when he's in shock state, and for Dragon install, I don't know why they were like, you know who needs guard crush? Kai. It's kind of a weird change. So this is what it looks like. Dash up close slash was a true block string after. Pretty wild. I don't know that it's that much better than like just having stunted for RC anyway, but if they're already in shock state, I guess you might as well. So Standing Heavy has better frontal hitbox. That's cool. That's a nice buff. Like I think far slash and 2S, 6H are all really excellent. So making like 5H better too. I mean, they're just improving his fireballs and his buttons in every patch, and I think he's just like better and better. Fujark having less knockback on hit, pretty nice. I think getting like more consistent combos from it, because sometimes it like pushes you back too far. It makes his offense better. Fujark and strike throw after guard crush, probably pretty scary. I think Kai also probably happy about most of the system changes. No, the fact that he gets to play more neutral is pretty good for him. Mei, they really just, they watch Slash at Evo and they're like, this is our strongest soldier. He needs help. Dolphin has less recovery now. Pretty wild change, I gotta say. They make S version less risky and the H version more plus. Extra distance on her forward jump makes her aerial approaches more potent. I think they're trying to make it harder to anti-air her like it was in the other games. 3K, they have better active frames, reduced recovery, so you get better Oki off of it. If she gets dash up close slash, it's over. Jump 2H now triggers counter hit. How plus is H Dolphin gonna be? It's already like +5. What are they gonna make S Dolphin on block? Then they have the change to beach ball. The beach ball now bounces, so it doesn't just stop when it hits the ground. Pretty nice change. These Mei changes are ham. I feel like she's a big winner. Axel low. So many people I saw read the Axel changes and they were like, he's the same. I feel like his changes look good. Am I tripping? He can cancel standing P, crouching P, and other pokes during the recovery on hit or block. Rainwater now draws the opponent in, which is pretty nice. And his command grab gives him way better combos. Standing H will now be crouching state on grounded counter hit, gives you more plus frames to work with. Jumping K has less blowback distance, makes it easier to combo stuff after. Jumping D launches the opponent higher with decreased horizontal blowback, so more height. Winter Mantis adjusts blowback when used as part of a combo, now launches opponent higher with decreased blowback, added tumble effect. If you read this and thought like, nah, he's not gonna get shit, I don't know what to tell you. Dude, counter hit 5H, command grab, close slash 2S, 5H, 2H, son. Why is he doing all this? There's a couple of things about Rainwater, right? Draws in the opponent on hit or block. He already had plus frames and he's a little closer. Decreases tension balance and increases negative values. So all the advancing moves that go backwards all have this change. This change is really important for some characters. Also increased knockback on Snail. I don't know if this is on hit and on block. I don't know. These changes look great. I think the system changes are quite good for him and his character changes are quite good. He has bad guts and like he often gets his wrist cranked and explodes. So like having extra meter is a pretty big deal. Chipp, this character, I think he was top 4 or 5 material in the last version of the game. Surely, like Soul Bad Guy, he gets nerfed. Alpha Blade now sends the opponent flying towards Chipp, making it easier to land more hits. Reduce startup on Seshu. This is his overhead on Rekka. It can combo from Rokusai on crouching hit, making it more rewarding depending on the situation. 6H. Now the opponent's on a crouching state on a grounded hit, which like means automatically on 6H regular hit, you get Rekka into overhead. Alpha Blade, gives you better combos. Chipp is that good in this version of the game. And he got buffs. This is huge because his big problem is that currently without meter in the corner, he has a lot of problems with confirms being meaningful. He just does Rekka 1, Rekka 2, and it doesn't do much. If you're getting hit crouching by Rekka, This is pretty nice to have. Also, it being faster just makes it better. 6H forces crouch, right? So it's showing that on crouching Rekka hit, you get overhead. He'll probably be at the same power level. The tension changes makes his positive bonus weaker. He's still going to build tons of meter until you're at max risk, and it helps him on defense because he builds risk very fast while he blocks. And he only got buffs. I know you want to downplay because you're bad at the game, but I do need you to recognize that Chipp is he's never not been good in this game, and he is still getting buffs. This character is good, and you're the problem, not the character. Every person in the game has like the same top 4, right? Ram, Nago, and Happy Chaos, and then afterwards it's Leo. Chipp, Baiken, and Goldlewis, I think, are the 3 most likely to actually be 5th. Chipp is absurd. He is so good. I don't know how you could think otherwise unless you're bad, which is totally fine. You should just say that. Even if he stays where he is and other characters get worse, he'll be in a better spot for it. And these changes are all really good. That's true. Chipp players talk like he's Potemkin's power level. I don't know. They say his /5H has better range. That's pretty nice, right? Hammerfall lets him approach faster because the armor starts up sooner. That's pretty nice so it doesn't get stuffed. Flick is faster, which is pretty good because one of the big problems he has now is like when he does 6K, if you think he's gonna Garuda, you just jump, and you can jump and still block the flick. So making flick better means that jumping Garuda by guessing is weaker. Sweep has less recovery. I mean, this helps him set up better when he gets a knockdown and he gets to just slide in Gorai. That's better. Heat Knuckle now pulls you in big time. I don't know if you guys have seen the change. Air block pulls you in so close that he gets 5K. I mean, in the last version, he already got like a command grab mix up anyway there, but pulling you in even closer is like obviously even better. Mega Fist backwards, same change as all the backwards moving moves, worse tension balance. Hammerfall, earlier armor and has better lower hitbox. I think this can get low profiled now, so this makes sense. Flick being faster, IMO is humongous because not only is it good for 6K cancels or 2D or like whatever button you're doing into flick, faster flick means Kara flick in mid-screen is probably very good too, right? If 6K flick hits you jumping, this is pretty big. I also think the system changes, like the wrist stuff doesn't help him that much, but blocking on defense and getting more bar is pretty nice for him. And the game having less damage is also good for him. The more chances where he gets hit and doesn't die in the video game, the more bar and opportunities he has to rob you. And I think his changes are overall pretty good. I don't expect his power level to dramatically change, but his time in the game is probably going to be easier because most characters, I think, that are really, really good that probably give him problems, a little bit more tolerable, and his changes are pretty good. Faust got great changes in like every patch. Faust is like in a pretty solid spot in this patch. They talk about like the knockback on a few moves getting adjusted to make throwing items better, faster mix, and then it's harder to interrupt it for opponents, which is pretty nice for certain scenarios where like you can slide in there and then like interrupt before mix hits you. His air dash, you can speed up the timing at the input buffer window. I think this is to make it feel more consistent because he has kind of a weird air dash. His 2P has reduced upper hurtbox rather. I wonder how much better of an anti-air this will be. 6P, 5H, and sweep all have better knockback. I wonder how much better because obviously 6P in item toss or 5H item toss, not that good on block. But if the knockback is far enough that he actually gains space and then he can just like throw item and be relatively safe against something that's not like a hard commitment punish, that's a pretty big deal for him. His items are good. The meme that all his items suck is kind of gone now. I do imagine that if a character beats him in neutral, this change might hurt him. But yeah, I imagine in most characters, like characters that just maul him, this is like better for him probably. I wonder if this is going to make jump 2K or like weird scenarios where mix kind of falls out a little bit more consistent. They have to like buff this fucking move every patch because it's so weird. Scarecrow has a reduced lower hurtbox. This is an interesting change. It's probably harder for characters to just like mash a low and beat it. But also, it means that he can just do this. I think this is really good. This makes weight into teleport very scary. This means anytime he gets meteor, anytime he gets weight, he just does teleport. Having more items that he can 50-50 you off of is like really strong in neutral. I think he's pretty good in the version now. He's like pretty good spot, and then he's just getting better. Millia, man, can I be honest about Millia? I think in the last version, every Millia I played had no footsies and just played this character like she didn't have that move speed with a 9-frame far slash, and I just didn't understand why instead of being good at fighting games, they decided to just run at me and die. But I'm happy that they got rewarded for it, because boy, did they get a bunch of more buffs. I don't understand why this character just doesn't use her grounded buttons more. You're like, I have to run up and do it, and now I'm negative. Like, why can't you just wait until I whiff? I don't know. And also, Capel is like the scrubbiest move ever. So increased attack level of tandem top. That's a pretty nice thing. Makes it safer, probably, right? I don't know how much safer and like how much better, but we'll have to see, I suppose. Better mix-ups and turbo fall buff. I mean, yeah, she already had good mix-ups. 6K has reduced recovery. It's not that fast, but it hits a lot because it's a weird move and like nobody is ready for it for no reason. I feel like it's surprisingly effective for how slow of a grounded overhead it is given the rest of her toolkit. The other thing is standing heavy now bounces higher with decreased horizontal blowback. So maybe if you hit that far slash into 5H, it works better into disc. Disc is safer. I mean, you're about to be pulling up. 6H, decreased attack startup. Maybe this makes it tight on more things. She has a lot of problems with certain gaps that she has or like commitments she has to make on pressure. I think that's all true. I think her neutral is way better than people represent. Sweep has reduced recovery. We'll see how much though. Is it going to be safe to DP? Like if someone does a 9-frame DP, can she block it? It would be really, 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 really good. It also makes your disc setups better, assumedly too, right? Ground throw, frame advantage and distance is now the same against all characters, unifying your setups and stuff. Millia can now move to the other side of the opponent even when they're in the corner. So they show this change here. She now gets the layout change in the last patch where she can cross up even if you're already in the corner on turbo fall. Pretty good. And there's a reduced hurt box behind her, so she's harder to hit out of it. If S-Disc is like pretty safe most of the time, her just running at you and doing far/5H disc or far/disc or just run up disc is going to be super annoying. And her biggest problem was already improved quite a bit in the system changes, no? She builds risk extremely fast. And so if she blocks a lot in the new version of the game, in theory, she should be building much more meter. Basically, I think almost every system change is really good for her and she gets a bunch of good stuff here. Zato can't keep getting away with it. The ability to move only Zato or Eddie during Break the Law opens up new possibilities. That's pretty cool. The way it works is if you hold down back, only Eddie moves. And if you hold up back or up forward, Eddie does not move and only Zato moves. That's pretty cool. I think that's a cool change. Reduce the hurt box on activation of Sun Void. You could DP or hit the move and then it like fell weird too. I'm curious about how the sword changes. 6K, they made the recovery better. In fact, it's so much better that he can 6K and then combo without Eddie. Probably not gonna be that common, question mark, but like, I mean, it's cool. I also think 6K on block will be better, and 6K late PRC might be good too. They also changed jumping D again. We'll see how this is, who knows. Also, I think it's funny, tension balance now decreases when moving away from the opponent with Break the Law, and then Sun Void, frontal hurt box. I mean, these are good changes for Zato. I think most of the characters better than him, getting a little bit of nerfs, right? And his, risk and defense is like, the system changes help him. But I will say, the Baiken and Mei changes probably suck if you're a Zato player. Those characters are already pretty good against them, and I think they'll be the same or better. Mei versus Zato in this patch, Latif is gonna fucking punch his monitor for sure. Anyway, Ramlethal Valentine, certainly this character must get some big nerfs. So, additional range of crouching heavy makes it easier to go into highly damaging combos, making her more threatening at close range, just what she needed. Expanded such that it works off of 2S. Importantly, I also imagine this works off far slash. Jumping D now works better as a jump in due to the addition of a hitbox behind ramp. She can cross up a jump D now. Arolumo is a potent offensive tool from any situation. The damage and situation on hit have been reworked. This is a Rekka. And then also the third hit's no longer a hard knockdown. Pretty big deal on the hard knockdown change. However, she could just do Rekka 1, Rekka 2 into dash cancel and get close slash Oki. She can do Rekka 1, Rekka 2 Daro. It's slightly worse, but it's not that much worse. I don't understand how this character can be so good and so effective and so easy for so long and then get this change. That's pretty funny. She remains very powerful. The system changes probably do help people deal with her offense and her positive bonus stuff in particular. Less damage on Rekka is important. So she got some small nerfs, but I think she's still going to be probably really strong. Leo Whitefang, another character is in the same spot, right? Adjustment to knockback and blowback for 6K. This probably makes his combo routing better, but also it makes it easier to challenge after 6K on block. Increased range for, I don't know what this move is, making it more viable in combos and forming block strings. Oh, it's his 236S. Sweep launches the opponent higher, gives Leo more advantage, making it easier for him to get an Okizeme. I think this changes to unify the knockdown timing a bit more so that he always gets sweep into back turn on all weight classes, right? But certain hurt boxes, expanded hurt box, will do. Again, one of the stronger characters overall, and he just didn't get much. In fact, he just got better probably, but we'll have to see. I am curious about, certain hurt boxes. I actually really hope that it's like his 5S, his far slash, and 5H are easier to hit lower. I mean, the system changes too can affect him depending on if there's any damage scaling changes, but like overall, his damage will still be pretty good. His neutral will still be pretty good. His offense will just still be incredibly good. Nago. Now, this one, I think we got him, but it depends on some of the changes. His defense now varies with the current amount of blood gauge. The damage and attack properties of his normal moves still increase the higher his blood gauge gets. But he now takes heavier damage from the opponent, meaning he needs to consider any risks he takes in neutral. Here's the deal. This change could be sick in two ways. This change could be sick because when his blood is high, he gets smoked, and Millia is just twerking on him, doing 100% damage. This change also could be sick, as in you sick fuck said he takes more damage, and it's extremely slight. But any amount of like losing life is pretty nice, I think. His 2S has increased recovery. Music to my ears. I'm so sick of Nago players mashing this button over and over and over and over, and then you try to air dash it, and he goes psh, and then you take 80%. I needed to see some changes like this to Ram and Leo probably too, but like, this move is pretty stupid. The last hit on 5S has reduced recovery. Better Oki. I don't know if he's gonna get to like OTG after it. Standing heavy, reduce lower hitbox. Maybe it gets low profiled more. And Fukyo back also has this change. He uses Fukyo back a lot in pressure. He could just be putting himself in negative penalty by Fukyoing back or like getting close, which is a pretty big deal. Nago's changes seem pretty impactful, and I think they're close to what people wanted. His kit, I don't have a problem with what he does. I have a problem with the power level of it. And the changes seem like they targeted most of that kind of stuff. Yeah, his 5K not changing is pretty absurd. His 5P and all these other moves being how they are still pretty absurd, but at least there are some changes that sound like they're meaningful. So Gio's changes, she's already a pretty fine character in the current version, despite her last patch maybe not being the best. Crouching heavy now draws the opponent in. That helps her routing a bit. That's cool. She has access to more powerful combos in the corner due to the new wall bounce effect on standing H. Just like by itself? Question mark? That sounds pretty ham. Ground throw frame advantage is the same. They made this change to Millia too. So universal frame advantage after ground throw. Flip kick, reduced lower hurt box. Probably harder to like get crossed up 6 feet or like hit in weird situations. Less likely to end up behind the opponent when the first hit hits an opponent near the corner, so she doesn't like take the corner on accident and lose her pressure. The first hit now launches the opponent higher with decreased horizontal blowback. Now launches less when used in one combo, so you can't loop it multiple times. But essentially they're trying to make it so 2H first hit of flip is like a better combo route too, right? It sounds like the idea is to make her routing better and make her scarier when she gets in the corner. Of all characters, I imagine the 6P change will help. And the rest of it seems pretty good to just give her better combos and make her scarier when she's in. Her 5H hits you a lot. 10 frames, extremely far reaching, really good on counter hit. Now it's gonna fucking wall bounce people? That sounds tight. Probably mostly better, given that characters above her are getting worse, and then her changes are all supposedly good changes for her. Anji, character who, like, a lot of you know, probably needs a little bit of help, but I don't think he's a bad character in the current patch in many ways. Standing heavy now launches the opponent on grounded hit, making it possible to combo from Fujin into Rin, and go into Okazeme off of Iso, alright. Making it so that he has access to more combo routes, but they also lead to better situations for him. That's pretty cool. They improved his Oki. I think that was a big problem. His knockdowns were pretty shitty. I imagine 5H also is like hilarious on counter hit now. Nagoriyuki gives more of an advantage due to the blowback adjustment, making it easier for him to maintain his offense. Yeah, so what if he's getting counter hit Nagoriyuki into close slash or some shit? He's about to be fucking living his best life. Expanded frontal hitbox. They made a 6P a bit better. His most consistent knockdowns he should get more often, and he should get better Oki. Plus, he has wild guts, so damage changes will probably help him too. Her changes seem great too, by the way. So she can jump cancel the beginning of her hover dash. Better for movement, maybe better for mix-ups, question mark, we'll see. Allows her to move a greater distance than with a standard jump, and combined with a reduction of sultry performance's landing recovery, she now has a greater arsenal of approaches from midair. Very big for dealing with zoning and also helping her move around the screen. The timing is now the same when canceling the startup of a jumping attack with faultless defense, so she can hacked a little earlier there, right? Note has a proximity requirement. Essentially, Note will not get beaten by far moves where you can just mash into it and then reset the Note like before. So Note, much better as a projectile. Also, Stroke got a big buff here too, which is reduced hurt box before the movement begins. And the upper hurt box of this attack steadily decreases as the move comes out as before. I think they're trying to make it low profile a bit more again, right? Also, her dives have reduced landing recovery. I wonder what they are. Making dive better like that is pretty wild. So these are all good buffs to Ino. I think she got good stuff here. Everything about her is faster. Goldlewis Dickinson expanded the hitbox of jumping H behind Goldlewis, making it easier to connect after jumping over. This is already a really good cross-up. I'm kind of surprised this got changed. Thunderbird, this is drone, now disappears when Goldlewis takes damage, making it more challenging to launch an aggressive approach. And there's some other changes to it, which we'll get into. So added stagger effect on standing K on counter hit. Can he do 5K 6H? Can he do 5K into like any behemoth? There's probably a lot of juicy stuff he gets from counter hit 5K, I would imagine. Because 5K is already a good move. It's a 10 frame low. It's like not bad at dealing with anti-airs. It destroys other lows. Thunderbird. The attack hitbox now disappears when Goldlewis take damage. The hit effect of the final hit now varies depending on security level. My reading of this is that it's probably only a hard knockdown if you have max drone gauge. Very good change. I don't know if you guys have heard me talk about Goldlewis, but I have said over and over and over that the drone needs to change. Like, this is the easiest thing to do. Drone is just too degenerate in the current version, especially now that burst like completely removes your risk. Like, if he bursts, removes all of his risk, and then does drone and instantly wins neutral, like, bro, I think he will also remain extremely good still. I should rephrase that. I think if you're good with Goldlewis, he is going to be an extremely good character still. In fact, I love this nerf because when drone gets nerfed and people still lose to Goldlewis, and their excuse before was drone is too good, now they have to say out loud, I do not know the matchup and I'm incapable of discussing why this character is beating me. I'm being outplayed because I never bothered to learn the matchup for the over a year this character has been out. And surely the issue is me and not my opponent. It's my fault because I don't even know what the Behemoth Typhoons do and I never bothered to learn. Like, surely for once in their lives, they will take credit for their loss and learn what the character does rather than just blame the drone. All the people who complain about their character's nerfs, while I'm like, great, I'm happy this got nerfed, you guys are all fucking whack. If you look at your character's changes, there's slight nerfs, and you're like, oh my god, it's over, it's a skill issue, and you're bad. His neutral is good even without drone. So I don't think it's bad at all. I think this is a perfectly reasonable change. Also, more hits on Burn It Down is pretty funny too. I hope Burn It Down is like really good. Because right now, I almost never use it. And if it's now a good use of meter, that would be pretty cool. Jacko, how does she keep getting away with it? Servants now fly higher and faster or farther when getting hit by crouching S. I think the idea is like she can do like 2S, 5H or something, and then it will land on you after. Dust attack, reduce frontal hurt box after the attack active frames end. I didn't even know this is a problem for her. Servants, fix the bug causing unintended servant behavior when a servant hitbox touches another servant under certain conditions. It sounds great, very illuminating. Throw servant, added wall bounce effect. I don't know if I'm bouncing off the backboard or the minion is. Either could be good. If the minions still have a hitbox when they bounce off the wall, that could be very strong. If we wall bounce, then that's going to be terrible. Like, I don't want to die. Release servant, all versions will now register the input when the button is held as well, instead of just having to tap it or whatever. And countdown has more launch. You guys bring up like, oh, her pressure is worse in regards to the positive bonus stuff. It's incredibly powerful for what it is, and it will still get you to max risk. She will just build less bar. So does it really change that much? Like, her opponent gets a little bit more counterplay is probably the answer. And I don't think there's very many things in the game besides that are so like, I guess I'm just fucked than this. Pretty important for the opponent to actually have something to do. She's probably about the same or maybe better because she's really strong in this version of the game and her changes are pretty good. Happy Chaos. Everybody wanted to see this motherfucker die. Jumping D now draws the opponent in, making it easier to land in an advantageous situation for Chaos at close range. That is pretty nice buff for him. I don't care about that much. It's a buff, but it's a quality of life thing. 6K could be easily included in combos from any situation and was extremely powerful in maintaining offense on block. The attack startup has been increased, so I imagine he has to do 2K 6S or 2K 2D or 5K 2D. He's also going to struggle to do the same kind of easy routing into wall slump. I imagine he'll still be able to do it somehow, just at a little bit more deficit. Launches the opponent higher also makes me wonder, does this not make it wall slump anymore? 6S launches the opponent higher as well. Jumping D pulls them in. At the ready, this is gun flip, right? Reduced recovery when activated with no concentration. He kind of just like does gun flip over and over when he doesn't have concentration and he's plus. So like, we'll have to see. Cancel aim, you can do different buttons. The curse and scapegoat changes are quite big. It reducing his tension balance, which means he's building less meter and also giving him negative value is huge. Doing curse into like steady aim shot into clone or something like is gonna nuke his meter probably. This is pretty big. Everything he does now I think is a little bit more expensive to do. Similar in power, like he's still doing the same kind of stuff. With how his gunshot works and how good his normals are, there will be a way to do something similar to what he does now. But anything that makes him spend more resources is probably good. He will remain pretty strong, I think. I do expect that he'll have more problems if this is like really bad for him, the scapegoat and curse changes, and if the changes to scaling affect like gun flip or steady aim shot or something like that. It depends on what it is. I thought he would get more too. It's funny though to see, like I said, there's a Japanese tweet of like the player who's like in shock that they destroyed Happy Chaos so bad. And I'm like, dude, you're on another planet if you think, first of all, the character wasn't really good, but also that these changes destroy him. I can't begin to understand it. Already Baiken. Surely Baiken. She didn't just get buffs, right? There's no way, right? Baiken is more of a threat at close range now. What do you mean now? Bro, she's got a 4-frame 5P, a 9-frame far slash. What do you mean she's scarier at close range now? What did you do? Tatami removed usage restrictions. I don't know exactly what restrictions they had on doing Tatami anyway, though, no? Oh, limit the amount on screen? That's cool. Yozansen decreased horizontal blowback distance at the later halves of the active frames. This is supposed to make cross-up Yozansen like 2S and a Kabari work more consistently, right? Gun Super, expanded hitbox of the explosion. Word. It's already, I thought it was already big. How this character just like, these are her changes? Shocking. This character is already so good. I don't know how she keeps getting away with it. Good luck out there, Zato players. Get owned. Cowards. Testament. Grave Reaper can now be used back-to-back, greatly improving Testament's control over neutral. I don't know what this change means. I guess you can just do them. Air Fireball, Ground Fireball. You don't have to worry about them disappearing. Crouching Heavy now draws the opponent in, opening up new combos. They changed Crouching Heavy, right? It's like a buff, and it sounds like a nerf. It has less launch, but it pulls them in. A heavy version, reduced knockback of the strike part. Interesting that it's reduced knockback because it's already plus. So I don't know if that's a buff. Maybe it helps with combos. I don't know if the knockback helps that much. But like if it's on block also, then it makes the pressure slightly worse, right? Increase active frames on the first and second hit of the super to make this hit a little bit better. I mean, I think Testament was in a pretty good spot, got mostly buffs. I think will remain one of the stronger characters in the game. But it's hard to know exactly how useful this Grave Reaper change is. I can't imagine it's not good. Like it can't be worse than it already is, right? But this sounds great. This sounds great. Everything sounds great. Bridget, they kind of went ham. Bridget has more opportunities to launch her offense from neutral due to the increased projectile speed and reduced recovery for stop and dash. I wonder what yo-yo toss is on block up close. It depends on exactly how it works in terms of speed and recovery frames. More options after rolling movement as it changes the knockback and trajectory, create less distance with the opponent and leave you closer. This is probably to make it so that like your jump-ins and close slashes and stuff feel better. Expanded lower hitbox and hurt box on 2P. 2P is a nice little poke. I wonder if the hurt box is actually worse, like by a good amount. 6P now causes blowback on hit when the opponent is standing. Blowback means it knocks them down, right? If you 6P with Bridget and you hit them in the air, you can do like scooter into launch and you're just gaming or whatever, right? But if you hit them on the ground, they don't get knocked up. You have to do a completely different option with scooter. This makes it probably feel more consistent, which is a pretty nice, it's like a quality of life change. Command normal 4, which is S, after far standing S or crouching S, expanded lower hitbox and hurtbox. This is the heavy follow-up where she does like the double swipe. Expanded lower hitbox and hurtbox. I wonder if this is like good for her or not. Right now, 6Ps against her normals are pretty good. And I wonder if they're trying to make it worse. Maybe it still loses the 6P, but it hits Crouching Faust, or it hits under 2Ks and stuff. Stop and dash, so a yo-yo. Increased damage, increased movement speed of the projectile, expanded proximity requirement for the attack to connect. Perhaps the proximity thing makes it so that it hits later, even though the yo-yo toss is faster, question mark. I actually am not sure if this is gonna help or hurt. There's less recovery on the S set and H set for when you don't have a hitbox on the yo-yo, which means her pressure is better because you're gonna throw that version and it's gonna be harder to react to. So this is a really nice buff for her. Rolling movement, decreased knockback, increased descent speed. Does this mean that she can't do roll into an overhead? Like, do you think they want her to do jump K or nothing? When activated as the yo-yo returns to Bridget, she moves towards where the yo-yo is placed. Sometimes what'll happen is if you fly right when the yo-yo starts coming back to you, you'll like slingshot the wrong way. Fix a bug where double jump, air dash, and air backdash could not be used under certain circumstances. Counter hit state now ends the same time as the active frames on roll. It could mean the mix-ups are better. It could mean they're worse depending on the height maybe, or how fast it is. Starship bug, kickstart expanded proximity requirement for the attack to connect. So this means that it's probably less likely for this to just hit far-reaching normals and stuff. Break has an expanded upper hitbox. Ooh. Probably better in juggles now. Reduce launch with decreased horizontal blowback and added tumble effect. Wait, tumble effect on break? Imagine in the corner getting like 6p kickstart break and then doing close slash in the corner. That'd be pretty nice. It probably makes it easier to combo off break, even if you don't do the perfect like scoot in very slow and then get break and stuff. It probably makes it better. More hits on Return of the Killing Machine. I'm guessing that makes more damage too. It also means that it gives you more burst though, probably too, right? Bridget's changes sound like they're good. It depends on how the roll exactly works, but overall, probably good. Sin's changes go hard. Only their universal changes to the tension, risk, base damage, etc. Kind of what I expected when I heard the patch was so soon after him. You have to imagine, how does Sin change with the system mechanics, right? I'm not sure. Like, he cranks a lot of risk, so that's a little scary. Building more defensive meter is also nice though. And some of the characters above him got worse, so maybe we can just think about initial reactions here. Soul, it depends on the gunflame change, but like the same or maybe slightly worse, I think. Kai is like better, but maybe not by that much. Mei, I think, is a big winner this patch. Axel seems like his changes are good. Chipp, a winner just by not getting nerfed, but he also got good changes. His Rekka change is really good. Potemkin, a winner. I'm not sure by how much. Faust also seems like a winner. Millia also seems like a winner. Both of these characters got good changes. Zato, probably also a winner. Ram, hard to say for sure, but maybe slight loss, but probably will end up the same. The 2H buff is pretty nice. Probably about the same. Leo, probably also around the same. Maybe slight win, actually, which is pretty wild. Nago, probably slight loss. Gio's a winner. Anji's a winner. Ino's a winner. Goldlewis, slight loss for sure. Jacko, winner. Happy Gal's probably slight loss. Winner, 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 same. It seems like most characters got wins though. I think with most of the characters, you can imagine what the changes are like, but until you see them, it's kind of like hard to 100% say. Well, you guys are all talking about which characters got better, worse, huge buffs, small buffs, my character got neutered. In actual news, my cats got neutered. So they're about to come home and I gotta go make sure that they're okay. And there's not much else to do besides wait for this balance patch tonight. So, you know how it goes.